Hello and welcome back to Homegrown Health, the show that helps you take your health back into your own hands. As always, I'm Chris and my wonderful wife.
Hello, I'm Jen.
Right, today's show, as always, is going to be extremely exciting, right? We're going to go into organics, non-GMOs, right? So where do we get these? What do they do for our bodies? And what do the non-organic and what do the GMOs, how do they affect our bodies, right?
Right. Yeah, so we need to realize that food can and does cause disease when we choose the wrong foods. But when we start choosing the healthier options, we can actually repair, prevent disease and future illnesses from coming on.
Right, so the whole part of this show is going to hopefully put in perspective that switching to an all-organic diet, whether you're eating animal products or not, or whatever your line you're falling in, switching to organics is the most important thing that we can be doing. Okay, so we're also wanting to kind of back up a little bit and maybe tell you how to integrate some of these foods more, how to get started with some of this. When we're talking about having a relationship with food, it's not a diet. It's not something you crash into and then kind of bounce around. And then we're wanting to see you understand what these foods are doing for you, what relationship they have with your body, so that way we can slowly integrate these in and replace out the old junk food that we were using, or the drive-through window, the fast food, right?
Right, yeah, this, like he said, it's not a diet, and that's why most diets fail. You know, you end up going on there and it says, don't eat this, don't eat that, and you end up starving yourself, and then you go and gorge on, you know, a whole cake, and then you regret it and feel horrible.
Right, nobody's ever been like, oh, what are you doing this weekend? Like, I'm gonna go on my diet and I'm not eating nothing anymore, and rice cakes and all that. No, it's really hard to be excited about all that. So if we're gonna slowly integrate this in and replace stuff, like to where we were not really gonna notice it, how would we start doing that? How would we go about that?
Right, so basically we've got to be real with ourselves, and you know, we've got to be easy and gentle. Take it slow, don't try to jump off all at once. So, you know, have things around so you can grab them when you are feeling snacky. That's the key, because everybody knows when you get to that point that you are super hungry, it doesn't matter what it is. If it's the first donut you see, or, you know, any kind of junk food, you're going to grab it and not even think about it, and then of course feel horrible again.
Right, and we're, like she said, we're going to have that. You're going to have the in-between meals where you might be hungry, or maybe it's like 11 o'clock at night and you kind of feel snacky or something, and that's okay if we're choosing the right foods and the whole foods to go to, right? I know my favorite is dark chocolate, right, and dates.
Yes,
are extremely
nature's
important.
caramel.
Yeah, and actually later on in the Sprouts Corner, they're going to be showing you how to make a caramel dipping sauce for fruits and vegetables to keep kids interested in what they're doing, okay?
Right, so one thing people get stuck on, and you know, most people today do it, is the 3 square meals a day, you know, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. But what we typically do is we eat a small or no breakfast, eat a good sized lunch, and then eat the biggest meal for dinner when everybody's sitting around with family.
Right.
Well, I read this book one time, and I cannot remember the name of it. I was trying to think of it earlier. And it said that what you're supposed to do is eat like a king in the morning, a prince in the afternoon, and a pauper in the evening, which it just kind of struck me and it made sense. I'm like, well, yeah, you know, you would need the most energy, therefore you would need to consume the most in the morning. And then a middle portion, you know, medium size for lunch, a good size salad, or, you know, a sandwich and some granola. And then at dinner, you actually want to eat your lightest meal, because at dinner is when your body is starting to slow down and your digestion slows down and all of your body functions start to slow down because you're getting ready for bed.
I also think that sticking to that standard, I have breakfast and I need to wait until lunch, and then I need to wait until dinner, and then when you do go to grab a snack at lunch, you always have like bad choices if you're not prepared. So what we want to do is we want to start bringing apples and oranges, fruits, granolas, seeds, and nuts with us, knowing that we're going to be hungry in between lunch. I remember when I was doing construction, I would eat breakfast, get up real early, eat my breakfast, and I'd take off. And then I knew when 11 o'clock hit, about an hour before lunch, here comes my headache, or I'm going to be a little dizzy, or man, my stomach is just going to be killing me. And as soon as lunch hits, I'm out the door, I'm grabbing like the biggest meal I can find, you know, $10 lunch every single day, and then try to make it back up on a ladder, you know, in midst of a food coma and not being half delirious, and then waiting until I get all the way back home again and I'm almost starving myself, you know. So we need to prepare. So we take all these healthy foods with us. So that way, when we are hungry, it's right in our purse, it's in our desk, it's in our car, it's handy, right? And then we're not starving ourselves and waiting until we make bad decisions.
Yeah, exactly. So what we did in the beginning and what I suggest to everybody is just try replacing one unhealthy snack food or addiction that you have a week. Don't try to do, 5 things. Just pick one thing, as simple as that. And I know it seems like a slow process, but it's the best way because you need to let your body get adjusted to the change and the new switch up.
Because this is not a diet.
Right.
Right?
Exactly.
So it's not all or nothing. It's not cold turkey. It's a lifestyle change. You're going to slowly understand these fruits and veg and the granolas and seeds and everything, and it's gonna slowly move its way in, and you're not going to realize it, right? And then all of a sudden, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm eating all these apples and bananas instead of going and grabbing chips and chocolate and candy, right?
Exactly. And when you're doing this, the most important people, of course, to get to switch over are your kids. And we always hear, the hardest and the most important
to kids.
But so we always hear people, oh, how do you get your kids to eat these fruits and vegetables? Well, we've never really had a problem. Our kids, we were really lucky, they've always loved this. But the key to it is to have foods that are finger
friendly.
Finger friendly, exactly.
Kid-friendly finger foods is what you're saying,
right? Yeah. So chop up, your apples and your pears and any types.
Cauliflower, carrots, zucchini. Because that's what we did. We did carrots, zucchini, and cauliflower. And we had them out. So the kids see that instead of you just holding up a giant carrot or a zucchini, and they're like, I have no idea what to do with that because I don't have a relationship with that food. So I don't know what to do, so it just kind of is overwhelming for them. You cut it up, and it's finger food. It's bite-sized for them, so they can play with it. That's what kids want to do naturally.
They're going to play with their food no matter what.
So if it's cut up to where it's friendly for them, and they're okay and comfortable with it, so then we're starting to make a relationship. And then we make it about the sauce. We would have 3 different types of dipping sauce out there for them. So instead of it being like, okay, now eat your carrots, it was like, okay, which sauce do you want? And then all of a sudden they're like, oh, I have a choice in this. It's not even about this carrot stick anymore. It's about these 3 salsas, guacamole. We do a lot of bean dips.
Hummus.
Hummus is a really good one.
Pesto, that's one of their favorites.
Our oldest daughter is into spicy food, so we do a chipotle sauce. But we have these sauces out for them, and or for other kids we've tried with, and it's all about that, and it's about their choice. So then they get really excited, right? And they're dipping, and they go and mix and match, and they get a plate, and they get all 3 of them on there. And they're having a lot of fun, and they don't even realize they're eating fruits and vegetables, right? And there it is. And it starts sneaking their way in. And then before long, they realize, I'm okay with this carrot. Me and this carrot are friends. I have sauce that goes with it, and we're cool, man.
Yeah, and one of the biggest thing is, the saying, monkey see, monkey do. Well, if I was a kid personally, and my mom sits a big old plate of, whatever vegetable it is, even though I love vegetables, and she's sitting over there and she's eating donut and pop and cookies and all this, and she's saying, no, you need to eat your veggies and get them down. Well, I'm not going to want to eat this. I'm going to want what you have. So if you only have the fresh ingredients, the organic snacks, which you can still have their favorite snacks, just switch over to an organic brand. But they're going to understand that, oh, okay, mom and dad do this, so they're doing it to be healthy, and I want to be healthy like them. Because the kids always want to emulate you, and they learn from you. So you have to be that example for them to learn from.
Right. Exactly, and kids, they will follow, and they'll want to play and everything. Well, the one thing I was wanting to hit up on is that I think that is also a way to incorporate these vegetables later on. When they see that I'm okay with these vegetables now because we've tried them in this way, and you say, hey, I've made a meal tonight, or I've made a stir fry tonight, I'd like your opinion. Those carrot sticks that we had earlier, I put those in there because I know you like those and you guys are friends. Pick 2 other vegetables that you want. You get to choose which 2 out of these 3, or however you want to do it, to put in there, and then it's empowering them, and then they have more of a relationship with these foods. Also, I know I'm rambling, but I really want to sneak this in there. Spinach, we talked about when we did the green show, and we did the whole Popeye thing, and it comes from a can. And when I was a kid, I didn't like it. That's why we're really adamant about whole foods, especially organics, whole foods, because that gets them a relationship with this pepper and with spinach, and not with what it is out of a can. I don't think when it comes out of a can, it tastes anything like it does when it's fresh. It doesn't have that pop, that sensation and have that strong of a flavor when it's been diluted and processed like that.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, so that's our over coverage there.
Yeah, that's catching up on everything, and hopefully that helps you integrate this a little bit easier into your everyday life. If you need any more information, always remember to hit us up on our Facebook, or you can email us or contact the show, as always.
Our Facebook is Homegrown Health TV3. So now we're going to actually get into the organics.
Right.
So what are organics? A lot of people think that it's just a marketing ploy, and they use that to jack up the prices. That's not really true. The best way and the simplest way that I like to describe it to people is it's basically what your grandparents were eating back in the day. The regular conventional foods that are in the store are covered, and we're going to talk about it. They're covered in pesticides and fertilizers, and I'm sure you've heard of that, but what does it actually do to our body? But so the organic foods, that is exactly what we want to get back to, and that's more simplistic. It's not anything fancy. It's nothing new agey. It is actually the natural foods, but they label that, and it kind of throws people off. So you go for the conventionally grown foods, which are cheaper but detrimental to your health.
And it also has a big part on the environment and the earth. They're not as concerned with the soil that they're using as a local farmer would be. They're more worried about production, and understandably, we're growing at an exponential rate, and everybody's trying to be as fast as they can and run through the window because they got to hurry up and get home and all these things. But in the end, all these chemicals, from them spraying to keep off bugs or to keep off certain bacteria and fight off disease, because they have to push out such a high quantity to keep up with our population, those end up accumulating in our system. They build up in our system, and that's what is, I believe, wreaking havoc on some of the other generations. And we're starting to see like an explosion in cancers and all these, and it's a buildup of all these toxins. We're only sick if we have a deficiency and we're not able to fight off, or if we have too high levels of toxicity in our system and they're overpowering anything that we can do to alleviate that. And that's what causes all of our sicknesses and I believe a lot of the disease that we're seeing now.
Yeah, so what you're going to look for when you go to the stores to find the organic foods, first of all, you're going to go all the way over to whatever store it is to the fresh produce. They usually have their own section of organics, and that'll be labeled. But when you actually look at the food, and I brought a couple of our favorites here, it will have a label. It says organic, and the key to it is that it has 5-digit number that starts with a 9. That shows that it's organic, and every food will be labeled as such.
So if there's an earthquake and you go into the grocery store and everything's laying on the floor and you're like, okay, I'm really hungry, but I'm really only going to eat organic food. I'm going to pick through all these. You can start finding the tags and the labels, and there you go. Do you want to hold up a couple of the rare fruits and whatnot there?
Yeah, so we brought some of our favorites. We mentioned earlier that dates. These are what dates are. They kind of look like gigantic raisins.
Right.
They're like grandma's fruits, but I'm telling you, these are the best things. They are so awesome. They taste delicious, and they're super sweet.
We have a hard time finding those. Where we live, we're kind of rural, more out in the country, so we have to travel over to Oxford, Ohio, to a food co-op, the Moon Co-op over in Oxford, and that's where we find a lot of our organics and kind of the outward lying fruits and vegetables, or the harder to get stuff. We usually have to go to a health food store because they specify in certain
if you live
fruits.
in a more suburban area, though, you guys have got it made.
Yeah,
there's all kinds of stores out there that you can go to. But most grocery stores, Kroger's, Meijer's, Marsh, things like that, they'll have dates. They're just kind of hidden. They're in the fresh produce section again, and they come in a pack, and they'll just say Medjool dates on there. But really, a lot of supermarkets are doing really well. Even out here in the country, we've got a pretty good organic section.
I really think it's starting to be spread around.
Yeah. Definitely.
It's going really well. So what do these pesticides and herbicides, right? They keep off bugs, they fight off bacteria. Okay, I don't want any of that on my food anyway, so I'm cool with it, no problem. And I'm okay, I don't know if it builds up in my system, nobody. What have they done testing-wise? What examples do we have? Well, we have a couple, actually.
Yeah, this really crazy one was the Rutgers University did a study on organic tomatoes versus conventionally grown tomatoes. And so what they found in the organic tomatoes was that they found 2,000 parts per billion of iron.
Right.
In the conventionally grown tomato, they found 1 part per billion of iron in a tomato.
So we talked about before, either having too high levels of toxicity from pesticides, herbicides, the different chemicals, having not enough nutrition to fight off the infection or the sickness as it comes along. So if you're only getting 1 part per billion when you should be getting 2,000 parts per billion, and then you're also accumulating all these herbicides and pesticides, and those are building up, then we're ripe for being sick. I mean, we're playing right to doctors and prescriptions' hands, to be honest. You know, like we're not taking care of anything.
Yeah, so the pesticides and the fertilizers, we talked a little bit about in our last show, and I used the example of a carnation flower. When you take a white carnation and you cut the bottom of it, stick it in food coloring, it actually absorbs that color, and that's how they get those multicolored ones at holidays, 4th of July and such. Right. So the point to that is that no matter how much washing and scrubbing and soaking you do, you may be able to get most or all of it off of the outside layers, but the fact of it is that it's actually in the cell structure, because the roots that are down in that soil that's saturated with all of those chemicals are absorbed right up into that fruit. So it is in there, you cannot get it out. That's why we stress organic is the most important thing.
So organic, to reiterate, is not using any chemicals at all, right? It uses, the soil is not treated with any chemicals. The seeds are natural, non-GMO, which means they're not genetically modified in any way. They're the way nature intended them. They're put into soil the way it's naturally meant, and then they're raised and grown with care. They're actually tended to, and people actually have a relationship with that food as it's growing to pass on to you to have a healthy relationship with that food, okay? So she was also saying that scrubbing and washing off the outside of the fruits and vegetables, they don't have much of an effect because it's soaked in, right? And that kind of goes right along with our bodies and our skin and our hair. We have to also be aware of what we're putting on our body, not just in our body. We have lotions and different chemicals and sprays that
especially women
absorb.
With the makeup and the hair dyes. I mean, even as far as hair color goes in shampoos and such, there are organic choices. And, you know, again, you wouldn't really think about that, but when you put things on your skin, it is directly in your bloodstream the minute you put it on there. So if there's chemicals in that, it's in your bloodstream now. And I wanted to get to, he touched on GMOs. A lot of people don't know what GMOs are. Number one, if you buy organic, you don't have to worry about GMOs. There are none. And what that means is, like he said, it is genetically modified organisms. So what scientists do is they'll take a trait from a mammal, a fish, a bacteria, or another fruit that they want to instill in, say, a banana tree or an apple tree or any kind of fruit and veggies. And it could be bacteria that certain bugs don't like. So they will blend that together with the seed. So when it grows, if a bug comes and bites it or whatnot, it will die.
Sometimes it's even just landing on it, because the BT corn, which is a sweet corn, it's one of the most prevalent corns out there. And it's not just corn that you would consume. It goes into livestock and grain, and then they use that for corn syrup, which is in soft drinks and sweeteners and potato chips and pops and fast food, right? So this BT sweet corn actually produces a poison, so that way when bugs and everything land on it, it kills them. So then they're saying that the farmers don't have to be around the bad chemicals of the pesticides, and they don't have to spray that in the air, and they solve that problem. But they also created a brand new plant that Mother Nature is not in harmony with, and then, I mean, let alone that going into your body and your body trying to deal with that, it's also secreting a poison. And the other thing with that is, who's to say what animal, what plant, or what a bug lands on that, right? So the monarch butterflies have been studied to be landing on all this sweet corn as they migrate back and forth from the cornfields. And now they're all dying off, and there's a serious problem. Mother Nature has figured out how to make all of these plants and animals perfect in their own way to cohabitate with each other, to live with each other. And for us to, I think, to come along and say, we would like to engineer this better, it pulls a piece of whatever that they had in that ecosystem. It pulls that out, and it disturbs that ecosystem, and it's harder for our system to digest that.
Right. So we've covered, so the things that you want to look for when you go shopping are the non-GMO, the USDA organic,
right,
and then the labels on the actual fruits and veggies, which they'll all have 5 digits, and it'll start with a 9. So then the last thing that deters a lot of people with organics is everybody says, you know, they're way more expensive. So we actually spend about $150 a month, or I'm sorry, not a month, a week, and that's for a family of 4. And that is everything being organic, non-GMO, and we just eat fruits and veggies. We're vegans personally. So if you do buy animal products, that's fine, but those are really important to get in the organic, because those animals that don't have that organic feed, they have all of the stuff that we've talked about in the plants in them, and it's carried over. Plus they have synthetic hormones, which causes early, maturity in children, so girls and all that. And that's kind of what really got us on our kick anyways, was because we have 2 daughters. We started reading about all the synthetic hormones that are in these foods, and we just didn't want any part of it.
It was 6 years process so far. So it's been from milk was the very beginning of it, and that snowballed down to milk, and then cheese, and then slowly like meat or red meat, and then into chicken. So it's a really gradual process, a lifestyle change that happened over the course of 6 years. And through that, we have become extremely aware of our bodies and in tune with our bodies and energetic and alive a lot more. And that's why we're here today doing these shows, so that way we can help more people.
So, before we forget too, I just wanted to tell you I'm really excited. Me and Chris are going to be doing a 10-day transformational cleanse, which if anybody is interested, please contact us on our Facebook page, which is... to be clear, it's not a diet, and it is not a detox that is just going to flush and strip and pull everything out, and you just only drink cayenne and honey and salt and something else that they told you to drink. It's not like that at all. The cleanse that we're going to go on is going to fuel and feed our body with every bit of amino acids, phytonutrients, every bit of vitamins and minerals that our body has ever needed for 10 days straight. Exactly.
So it's a flood of our system, and we're going to document this on our Facebook and our YouTube. We'll be taking videos every day and showing you. We're not really in it as much to be on the weight loss side of it, but our energy to get back to where we were, because it's summer now and we're doing a lot more. We want our energy to be back, and we want to feel alive 18 hours a day again and be running from one place to the other. So if you'd like to know more about that or check that out, please visit our Facebook, which is Homegrown Health TV3.com. From there, we'll have links to our YouTube and to anything else that we're doing.
Yes, so I want to thank you again, and please just remember that the most important thing that you can do for yourself is start taking control of your own health and making the right decisions. So right now, we're going to throw you on over to the Sprouts Corner and let you see how they're going to make our date caramel sauce.
And for the recipes for the date caramel sauce, or for the other recipes that we've done, also visit this website, comments or questions, visit the website. We'll have all that posted up there, so that way you can get a good visual of it, all right? So we'll send you over to the Sprouts Corner.
Thank you.
Hi, welcome back to the Sprouts Corner. Today we're going to make our yummy date sauce, our favorite. 1, 2, 3. We have chia seeds, vanilla, 7 dates, a Honeycrisp apple, warm water, and pink Himalayan salt. Now we're going to take our chia seeds, get half a tablespoon. Now we're going to put our vanilla in. Now we're going to do our salt. Now we're going to show you how to take the date seed out. Make sure get it open. This is what the date seed looks like. Make sure to take it out every time you do something with dates. Here. We already took the seeds out of some of them, but the 2 that we just opened already had the seeds in. Now we put our water in. Hot water. Hot water. Now we're going to blend it. Done. That's great. Now we're going to take some of our date sauce and put it into this bowl. Try it, you'll like it. Bye everybody. Try it, you'll like it. Bye.